Hello everybody, it's Joshino here, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at the update that was released today on the 23rd of the 7th, 2015. This patch's biggest addition is the Sunderer Cloak. So at the moment, the Sundra Cloak is the 5th certification into the line in the Sunderer defense slot of stealth. So you first spend the last slot of stealth, which costs 1000 certification points, and then you can spend another 1000 certification points to get the stealth. At the moment, I don't think this is really a good way of doing it, to be honest. And that's probably why there aren't so many of these invisible Sundies around. Thankfully, I've got like 7,000 certs from all the optics that have been refunded, and I've just not really certed back into them, so I've been able to get it. But anyway, the actual mechanics of it are very interesting. I've actually been in a lot of fights where you've been able to park somewhere completely in the open and absolutely nobody else will notice it, and I've been trying to fly over it with C4, drop C4 and it, like blow up 2 of them, it starts smoking and nobody else notices. It's kind of annoying really, but at the same time it's just brought in a new tactical element into the game, and it's quite interesting using it in fights, and you can get Sunderers into places and small places where you may not have been able to do it before. So everybody inside the bubble is cloaked, even say if you're an enemy and you jump into their bubble and you'll be cloaked as well, so you can start firing everywhere and getting kills because they're all invisible, and then you go invisible too. It's sort of visible when you get closer. I don't know what the range is, like 100 meters I say. You can see sort of the ring, like a silhouette, and then as you get closer and closer it becomes quite obvious that there's this big dome over the Sundra. And it's almost like a hexagonal jiggity-joo, I don't know, you call it like polygonal shape, and I suppose it's made of lots of hexes like the map. And I've had Sunderas that I've laid myself, and they've been alive for quite a long time until somebody notices, because basically if the Sundra gets hit by any explosives, it shows up again. Similarly, if you get into the turrets on the top and start firing, you become visible again. And all of the infantry inside the ball, once they fire, they too are visible. I think this would be much nicer if they took away the massive certification cost to get this. I mean, I don't know why they've done that. There's no cash incentive because there's no way of buying it, and I just don't know. It's not something that only veterans should be using. It should just be everybody just be able to use it. It's kind of annoying. Before you used to have to spend 200 certs to be able to deploy the damn things, but they did make it default, which was a good move. I'll put it out there, it's a very good move, but hopefully they'll do the same with this stealth cost. Maybe they'll change it, maybe it's its own cert line or something, just something different. Something else they've changed is that they've supposedly buffed all of the burst fire weapons, including the medic weapons and the carbines. I've been using the Solstice burst and the Equinox something or another, and just for me, I don't like burst weapons. I feel that you're only making your aim worse by using a burst weapon when you can use a normal weapon and burst it yourself. So it's just for somebody that's used to bursting a weapon and being able to have that control to burst and to tap if you need to at certain ranges. It can feel more like an impediment, and to be honest I was getting quite frustrated using these weapons, and it was the same as it had been before. They do seem a little bit better than they were in sort of the control, but it's just not for me, to be honest. It could be something that newer players might want to use to see how exactly the aim can be affected by actually bursting the fire and controlling it, but then again you can get trapped in, I suppose, a cycle of just expecting it to burst all the time and not transferring it to the other weapons that you use to actually burst yourself. Then they've also changed the infiltrator cloaks a bit. It says that there's less visibility when you're crouching and moving forward, and similarly standing and walking rather than sprinting, so if you don't press the shift key. But I really haven't been able to tell the difference, to be honest, and I've been testing it out a little bit, going at different enemies quite close up, walking and then crouch walking, and honestly they always see me. I don't think I've had one enemy where I've been able to sort of slightly walk towards them or crouch walk towards them without them noticing me, which has been sort of the problem all along, because it is very easy to notice infiltrators, and in some ways you'd hope they are completely invisible, but I can see why there needs to be some visibility in there. But I don't know, I don't think it's in the right place just yet. The Valkyries apparently have had small arms to do less damage to them, and their armor's increased to 50% bottom armor. I'm not a Valkyrie pilot. I gave it a go a little bit on my own, but I couldn't find anybody to play with me at this time. I should have asked earlier, because I'm actually making the video later on, but I don't really know about Valkyries. There are some dedicated pilots out there, and to be honest, I think it's one of the more fun vehicles in the game, because being in the rumble seat's absolutely epic, just flying around and being able to see the sights and being just thrown around like a rag doll in midair. It's just fab. And they've sort of unnerfed the squad beacons a bit, because it used to be that you had to be in 600 meters to be able to spawn on it, but now it's 1000 meters. I don't know about this. I quite like being able to spawn in a spawn beacon because it keeps the squad together, and I didn't know why exactly they changed the respawn in this way. I mean, a spawn beacon makes sense because you've actually placed it down. It's destroyable. It's an objective. I don't know whether it really needed nerfing in the first place, to be honest, but we'll see how that plays out anyway. And it has been interesting on sort of redeploy side, and how many galaxies are being pulled from the warp gate is actually quite a good thing, I think, because I think it's makes the battle so much more epic when you have lots of galaxies coming in, people dropping off. It just makes things feel more like an insane battle. They've slightly changed the ESF nose gun creases. To be honest with you, the VS default nose gun looks it's quite difficult to tell exactly where you're firing anymore, because these projectiles are so chunky and they look like they've got a bit of fuzziness about them. I don't know whether it's a graphical bug or if that's intended, but they're really wide and it's quite fuzzy, so it's quite hard to tell where your projectiles are going now. Before, it was very easy to sort of aim above somebody and be able to keep sustaining fire, but now I keep getting confused as to where the person is and where my projectiles are going, but maybe I'll just get used to that. But I do think it's actually a bit ugly, so maybe it needs a bit more tweaking. I haven't really noticed the other factions traces, but I probably need to have a look into that. And so I think I've covered most of what's come out in this patch. I think generally it's quite a good thing. I like the Sunderer Cloak, but they need to change the cert cost on it because it's a bit ridiculous at the moment. Yeah, the Valkyrie, buffing the Valkyrie slightly, I suppose, is a good thing. It was very squishy before, and I think the infiltrator stuff is in the right direction, but it's still very easy to see infiltrators, at least in very high graphics mode, and it's almost impossible to sneak up to people. I find that I really use a cloak to be quite further away and to move, and then it's quite hard to see somebody a bit further away, but when people are up close it's almost instantaneous that you spot them, and it's still the same way. And the carbines and the assault rifles that are bursts are unfortunately still very lackluster for me, and they're just not for me, to be honest. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. What are your thoughts on the patch? And hashtag don't play on patch day, because there's new bugs out, like a flickering screen on the menu, and it seems that a lot more undead corpses are about, especially maxes, just floating across the floor and being able to kill you. Before that it used to be that they'd be able to float around but not be actually alive, so they couldn't actually hurt you, but now they seem to have actually been zombified rather than just being a ghost, I suppose. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time everybody, Joshino.